guys, what's up? Bjornson here, welcoming you to another short episode of the Tee-Off. Today we are again looking at Wargame AirLand Battle, and we're focusing this time on infantry in the armory. So, after covering the basics here, it's time to look at some of the chess aspects of the game, where you can have one unit essentially counter another unit. The first thing to understanding this element of the game is paying attention to what's up here and the weapons. So you can see that figure there, and you can look at some of the weapons. These guys specialize mostly in ground. You can see they can hit helicopters, but their specialty really comes in ground. They can hit up to 1,050 meters with some weapons, and they can hit moving, or I guess more armored targets here at 875. You can always tell again if it's meant for armored targets looking at AP power, or if it's meant for unarmored targets looking at HE power. So you can see these guys are very effective here. Spetsnaz of the USSR have the same logo, but they've got a little skull next to it. So, and you can also see that they've got these glasses here, which means they act both as an elite infantry and they act as scouts. They have extended field of vision. Again, you have to pay attention to their weapons here. You can see mostly aimed at ground, but they have scouts, and they have the ability, they have two weapons that can shoot down helicopters, and they've got the ground specialty. So you can see that it's all meant though for unarmored targets, and it's a lot of suppression. Also, you'll notice with infantry, these numbers are all 0, obviously because the armor's not going to help them out when they're going against something more powerful, such as a tank. Same thing up here, and you can see that there's always a ton of different categories of the same unit. So this one's more expensive, obviously, just because it comes with a helicopter. This one also comes with a helicopter, but the helicopter is not as good. And you can check the stats for the vehicles they'll be traveling in just by looking right below them. So you can compare this with this and see why this helicopter is better than this one. And of course, you've got ground units. Same here, same here. Now, when you look at the very cheapest ones, I sometimes advise you to reconsider, simply because most of these vehicles that they come with can do some damage, but when you look at something like this, when it has the 1 up here, you'll know that the vehicles they're going in have no damage at all, so they just become pretty much dead units in the game. Now let's move here. First thing you should notice is you can see how the symbol changes. Now when you see this symbol, it means that these guys are meant to take down ground units. They're meant to shoot at tanks and heavily armored vehicles. Again, if you don't remember this, you can look immediately to the weapon. You can see that it says AP power, which means it's meant for armored vehicles. And you can see accuracy. If it's a high accuracy, then you know it's going to be pretty effective there. You can see the amount of ammo they have in each of these, and you can see heat stands for high explosive anti-tank, and guide stands for guided. So you can see that this is definitely an anti-tank infantry unit. And you can see all these guys, and again, they just have different vehicles. That's what separates the point differential. When you're making a deck, up around here, you'll also have the ability to choose the rank of your units. So you'll see you can get more units that are trained and less units that are veterans, but the veterans are better off the bat. So that's something that you need to take into consideration when you're building your own deck. You can also see here on some of these things, like there's a tank here exploding, and if we move up to the sappers, you can see it's just a fire. So I personally don't like napalm units in the game. I don't know if they need to be balanced or something, but as far as I can tell, napalm is meant mostly for demoralizing and then taking out basic infantry. So I would consider napalm units just to be anti-infantry here, and you can always see if they're napalm units based on the little fire symbol next to them. We can also see anti-air infantry, which is very important if you're running a deck that doesn't have that much anti-air available in its support category. Now you can tell again if it's anti-air based on this picture up here, which has a rocket firing into the air, and based on the weapons focus here. Sorry about that. Which is helicopters and airplanes, and you can see how many meters it'll be effective up to, and the accuracy, which is supreme here. Pretty good accuracy. Not the greatest range when compared to a lot of support, but if you could put these guys in, if you put them in buildings or in forests, and see how they have exceptional stealth, they can be pretty effective. So these are all anti-helicopter, again, or anti-airplane too. Again, here these guys are anti-tanks, and you just compare them with the other tanks. And then I believe the final one to cover here is just infantry that's good against other infantry. You can see that here because it's just the basic one here. And they've got all this, and it's mostly meant for unarmored units. And the two guns side by side means that's what they specialize in. Usually when you have the two guns side by side, you get much larger groups. You know, you can get, if you bring in 4 of these, then you might have 60 infantry, whereas if you bring in 4 of these, you'll have 8. So right now I don't think there's any way to tell why these are only 2 and why each of these is 12 or 15, but I'm sure they'll add one in before beta's closed. And those are the basic infantry units of the game when we're looking at USSR. I encourage new players to look at all the decks and see which ones they prefer. And stay tuned for more videos.